What's going on, traders? Welcome back to day 10 of 25 days of trading. We're going to go over today where to set your anchored VWAPs. Now, my strategy, if you haven't seen it already, is fully VWAP based, maybe a few other key levels. So it's definitely important that you know where to put them and what purpose they serve so you're not confused on what you should be looking for trades. Now, level-wise, we have the 15-minute opening range. That's these horizontal lines. It's the first 15 minutes of the day, but it's not a VWAP. So that's as far as we'll go with it. That the first VWAP that I use, and I'd say in level of importance, is the New York VWAP. So we're on the regular trading hours looking at the 2 minute just to condense the chart. So you can see we'll anchor from the 9:30 New York Open. Now for me, that's a black VWAP, just looking at the start of day, because regular trading hours thinks the start of day is 9:30 in the morning, Eastern time, which it is. So that's the New York VWAP. I'm looking for trades ideally off of this VWAP, right? And you can see this clean retest we have in the afternoon. Moving away from there, if we could have pulled back to it at this point, that would have been a great short. If this had a little bit more legs in the pullback, that would have been a great short, but it took some time to finally do so. But that's all right. That trades in the afternoon. That's the first one. Now, in line with the New York VWAP, I'm also going to use a previous day's New York Open VWAP. So let's just scroll to the left and anchor one to that open from, in this case, it's a Monday. So we'll go to Friday. It is the previous days. That one's going to be dark blue. So now when we go to my charts here, you can see, all right, we're below the New York. We're also below where yesterday's New York Open is. So sellers are fully in control in that regard. Now, let's also go to the 15-minute just because it's easier to view things that way. You can also see the VWAPs there, but I often don't sync them over. I want to keep my 15-minute clean, but you definitely can. So we'll leave the previous days on. Now, on the 15-minute side of things, kind of like the start of day New York session VWAP, my start of day daily VWAP is from the 6 p.m. Eastern changeover of day. We're going to turn that one black as well, but this is on the 15 minutes, so I don't get it confused with that 1 minute New York one. Same thing as that New York. Okay, buyers are in control above it. Could be looking for bounces off of it. Oh, buyers are no longer in control. Sellers just broke below both of those VWAPs. Maybe I should be looking for shorts. And then you also take that information to this 1 minute saying, yeah, we're below the overnight. Now this previous day's New York and today's New York. That's full trend to the downside. I cannot be looking for longs, so let me just keep on looking for shorts. That's as simple as it gets. Now some other VWAPs you could turn on that I don't use every single day, every single trade by any means. We'll turn off previous day's New York. We'll leave on the daily VWAP. It doesn't matter. I also use a start of week. Now, not as heavily used, but I want to give you guys all the bases on what VWAPs I possibly may use, and you might see in my markups. Now, being that a Monday, we're not going to use it this week or right now, but that start of week is going to come from Sunday, start of a new week, 6 p.m. Eastern, just like our overnight, right? So let's keep that on and turn that one yellow. So like I said, on a Monday, it doesn't really serve you a whole lot of use. It's really the overnight VWAP, right? It's anchored to the start of day on a Monday. So we're not going to use the start of week until later in the week. And you can see it just kind of gives you a gauge on who's in control. And on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, buyers defend it, ultimately get back above. Wednesday, sellers couldn't hold above, longs back above. Thursday, couldn't get below it. So sellers aren't really fully in control if we're above the start of week VWAP. And you can see on Friday, nowhere near it. Buyers keep that control, right? It's really just like a line in the sand of saying, okay, we're going to play around it sometimes for sure. You can see we were below it, above it, chopped around it. But then ultimately, it comes back and holds it, right? So I just kind of like to use it on an overall read of trend on the week, but I like to use it later on in the week. So that's the start of week VWAP. And again, you can do whatever your color you want, but these are just the ones I use. Similarly, let's go to the daily chart. Anchor an all-time high VWAP. Where do you think we anchor that one? The all-time high. That is correct. So if we anchor to the all-time high, that one's always green. Now, I'm not using it right now, but there definitely could have been a time on the lower time frames when you're using it around these few days, right? Because buyers take it out, see if buyers can hold that control of it. They don't. Sellers take back that all-time high VWAP, and we move back lower. Buyers take back the all-time high VWAP here on November 26th, and we've been above it. So you definitely want to use it when you're around it. I don't use the all-time high VWAP when we're just floating above it like that. Doesn't really serve you any information, right? But you can't use all of these VWAPs every day, nor should you want to. I try to keep things simple, but every now and then, are we near the all-time high? All right, let me put it on. Are we at the start of week VWAP? All right, let me turn it on and see how we respect it. I think that was on NQ last week, let's turn on that start of week VWAP, and you'll see start of week, that's yellow. That it was, on that move down when the Microsoft news came out and then corrected itself. Strong move down, but I was like, do we have any layers of support underneath us? Well, start a week where you could see the day prior, buyers defended it, buyers defended it. Let's see if they defend it again. And they did, and we found longs because it's holding me up as a key level. Once we broke above it on Monday, it's been higher highs and higher lows. So using that VWAP to keep me on my long bias until sellers take it back for the week. You see the same thing on Thursday, that same VWAP, it doesn't move, still anchored from the same day, being respected. So it's going to keep me from taking shorts into that level and maybe even be looking at longs away from it. So those are pretty much the key VWAPs that we're going to use. Again, my full strategy is available for free here on ASFX TV. You can get your first month free if you use code FIRST or find the link down below. All of it is broken down here in a chapter even. VWAPs and indicator setup, so you can set it up just like mine, but also entry strategy and all that good stuff. And you can watch me trade it live on stream every day, ask questions, get better at it. Now looking at today, like we went over here on the 1 minute, if we put on our New York and that previous day's New York, here's today's New York VWAP, turn it black. Let's go back to this markup. You're going to find trades that look like this. Here's our New York VWAP. Previous day's New York in blue, right? We're below all of it, clearly. So I'm trying to be a seller. Pulls back, breaks what? Our next VWAP, the low of day VWAP, the last and final one that I'd say I put some significance on. That a break of low of day VWAP is telling you sellers are 100% back in control. So same thing, if I put on an anchor to the low of day, turn that one purple, and I also do high of days when I'm looking for longs. We pull back to New York. Definitely a great place to want to be selling it. So you could play the bounce play there. There are bounce plays in there. Or you could take the then break of lower day VWAP after that hold of New York, right? So this is like the first sign that buyers are going to defend or fail here. Sellers are going to defend this VWAP. The second one is, sellers did defend it. Now they're taking out the low of day VWAP. They're 100% back in control. So we should probably want to move away from here and continue trend that has been bearish. So I like to use the lower day maybe for just a little bit of confirmation saying trend might be ready to pull back here. But once that low day VWAP is taken, the pullback may be finished because sellers are stepping back in, right? We're back here. Who knows if this pullback wants to go all the way to New York. But once it takes out a low of day VWAP, somewhere around there, the pullback's over, trend's ready to continue. So if you don't know where that pullback may want to finish, you shouldn't guess. Put on a low of day VWAP, see when it gets taken back. The pullback may want to be done and go continue lower in the direction of trend. Simple as that. So I try not to overcomplicate things. You'll see things when you go through this ASFX strategy. It's simple. This is as clean as it can get. We're off this overnight VWAP in black, so I'm liking longs off of it. So now that I'm using the overnight and the New York, I have to change one of the colors. So New York on this example is blue. Here's our 930 open. We're above it. Break above, retest below, but I'm not going to sell it just because we're below New York, because we're also above still this overnight VWAP. All right, I'm still going to hold on to long bias a little bit, but let's see if we can get back above New York and a high of day VWAP up here, right? So buyers take that high of day VWAP and the New York after defending the overnight, 3 VWAPs, but they're pretty self-explanatory. Let's go continue trend. Trading back to the highs, simple as that, right? Just leaning on the bias of we're above this overnight. I'm not bearish if we're above that. So anytime we spend below New York, I'm not really interested in it. Let me see if we can get back above. And then when we do, see you later. See you later. Keep things simple, ride the trend, never fight VWAP, right? Could there be money to be made in the longs against VWAP? Sure. I think there's a lot more money and easier money just trading with the VWAP back down in the direction of trend. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Tune into ASFX TV. If you have any other questions on the VWAP, the strategy, where I put them, my key levels that I look at. And like I said, all of it's broken down here. You'll probably find the answers. But tune into stream, ask some questions. But I appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys on the charts tomorrow morning.